This is absolutely ridiculous. Bleacher Report once again has drawn up another mock trade involving this Miami Heat organization, and this time, once again, they are involving this Heat team with all-star point guard Trae Young. I'm here to break down the mock trade and really the likelihood of it actually happening and why Heat fans may be a bit annoyed with this idea, as once again, it has come up over and over and over again. We'll break down all of that on this episode of Heat Digest. But first, please do remember to subscribe to the channel if you're a part of the near 80% currently watching this video, not currently subscribed. We do appreciate all the love and support, so thank you guys. But now let's get to it and break down this Trae Young mock trade. Now, it is the season for mock trades. We have broken down a bunch of them in the recent days on this channel involving players like Zion Williamson, Kevin Durant, and even Giannis Antetokounmpo. But now we are breaking down again for it feels like the third straight year the Miami Heat are going to be involved in trade conversations with all-star point guard Trae Young of the Atlanta Hawks. Now, the Heat, if you don't know, if you've been sleeping under a rock for the last 3 to 4 seasons during the offseason specifically, the Miami Heat have been tied to all-star point guard Trae Young for years now. For one player, for another player, it's just a different group of assets that have always been tied to the Atlanta Hawks, and the possibility that Trae Young would be moved to Miami in order to help this Miami Heat team really get over the hump and become a substantial competitor in the Eastern Conference. Now, I have my own opinions on how Trae Young would translate into this Miami Heat team, but we'll break down that in just a second. Let's first start with this tweet from Heat Culture on Twitter from just a few days ago, where they present us this Bleacher Report mock trade involving the Miami Heat and, again, all-star point guard Trae Young. So the actual trade breaks down as follows. The Miami Heat would then receive Trae Young in exchange for Terry Rozier, Duncan Robinson, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Nikola Jovic, Pelle Larsson, a 2025 first-round pick, and a 2030 first-round pick. And then Heat Culture goes on to label this as a very strong starting five. Now, the starting five of Trae Young, Tyler Hero, Andrew Wiggins, Bam Adebayo, and Kalel, where on paper looks very, very good. There's great defensive capabilities between the 3 and the 5 in Wiggins, Bam, and Kalel. But then when you look at the defensive abilities from the 1 and the 2, that is a major red flag. Now, Tyler Hero, I will say, did increase his defensive abilities this past season and wasn't as much of someone to get picked on until that Cleveland series, where we all know the blockbuster quotes that really just felt like a bombshell amongst the NBA, where Darius Garland said just flat out pick on Tyler Hero. So once again, yes, Tyler has improved, but he is still someone that they can go after in certain situations and scenarios, especially in the playoffs, where defense in every possession very much matters. And he's an exploit. Trae Young would be that times 5. And this is something that has been tagged to Trae Young for years now, ever since he came out of Oklahoma into this NBA, or into the NBA, through the NBA draft is what I was attempting to say. Trae Young offensively is gifted like he's a very small pool of players amongst the entirety of the NBA. Not only because of the ability to put the ball in the basket, but his ability to facilitate the basketball. He averages 10 to 11 assists per game year after year after year. And no, it is not just a fugazi. It's not something that just happened once and he got lucky. Trae Young has the ability to do and put up those numbers year after year, despite being on teams that may not be recognizable, teams that may not be really ones to be reckoned with, in the sense that it's Trae Young and a bunch of role players out in Atlanta, and despite that, Trae Young has the ability to go out there and put up very good numbers, all-star level numbers year after year. Now, is this actually going to happen? My vote has been and always will be no. The reason being is because I don't think Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra, and Mickey Arison, as well as the rest of the front office involved in this Miami Heat organization, are willing to go out there and move very notable assets in order to get back someone in Trae Young who, again, is going to be labeled and has been labeled as a defensive liability on the basketball floor, especially in the playoffs. Now, it's not only the ability to then expose him on the defensive end, but it's the ability to then shut him down in the playoffs. Now, if you did pair him next to players like Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, and the rest of this Miami Heat organization that they would be able to hold on to after a trade, again, based off the hypothetical trade that we broke down, presented by Bleacher Report and Heat Culture on Twitter, he would not be as easy to really minimize in the playoffs in the sense of his offensive production. Something we've seen this Miami Heat team specifically be able to do against Trae Young in the playoffs. Yes, he does have some shining moments, some shining games, but it is never 4, 5, 6 games where he's able to put things together because of Miami's strategical and their overall their defensive ability on the basketball court when they go in there schematically and they're able to game plan around Trae Young and the team he is currently on with the Atlanta Hawks. So yes, would it be harder to minimize him if he were on this Miami Heat team and this Miami Heat offense that has the other weapons it currently does have in Bam, in Khalil Ware, in Tyler Hero, in Andrew Wiggins? Absolutely. But then the inability to take away from the defensive inabilities of Trae Young would still be a very strong suit and a very big thing going on with Trae Young being a part of this Miami Heat organization. Now, for the trade itself, would it work? Yes, it would work. Now, you can't go on the ESPN and use their trade machine option because it doesn't allow you to put actual draft compensation in the trades. I found this website. I believe it's Sports Track. I'm going to tag it down below. I'm not 100% sure. I apologize if I got that wrong. But it gives you a lot of great insight. And honestly, this is probably the best trade machine on the internet available to the public to be able to plug and play and really figure things out involving all of the caps, the draft compensation, as well as the player assets. It's a phenomenal tool. And again, we plugged in the exact trade that was presented in this tweet from Bleacher Report that was, again, then tweeted by Heat Culture. And it works. Now, do I think it's a good idea? No. I think the Miami Heat would be getting fleeced in this trade, giving up way too many young pieces with a lot of potential in order to go out and get someone who, again, would be a defensive liability, who would improve this team offensively, but I don't think he transcends this Miami Heat team, and I don't think he puts us over teams like the New York Knicks, who are currently in a war of Game 1 against the Indiana Pacers. And even the Pacers, a team that has been only known as their offensive firepower, has gained the ability to play great team defensive basketball. And with that, I don't believe Trae Young would be able to improve this Miami Heat organization that much and that substantially when giving up this many pieces, including the draft compensation. Now, if you look, it shows you the differential in the sense of offensive and defensive production, as well as the overall win percentages and win overall production. This would increase the Hawks by 1 win and decrease the Miami Heat's total win record by 1 win. So we would get worse. The Hawks would then get better. Again, 1 win in both directions. Not a substantial change in overall production in this trade. So again, just going back to the analytics and the idea of earlier, I don't think this would be a great trade for this Miami Heat team. A lot of assets would be on the way out for someone in Trae Young, who's getting paid handsomely, as of course he should be. He's a multiple-time All-Star, and again, his numbers are ridiculous. They really, really are playing in a bad team in Atlanta. A change of scenery would definitely help Trae Young in his individual self and his overall career that he is putting out there and putting together for himself. But again, I don't think this would translate into overall championship level basketball for this Miami Heat team. And I think Pat Riley and the rest of this Heat organization thinks the same thing. And the reason I say that is because this is not the first time, like I mentioned earlier in this video, that we have seen this proposal of a trade involving the Miami Heat and star player in Trae Young. If you look at the date on this tweet, this is from June 10th of 2024, just last year, almost a month to the date. Bill Simmons proposes Miami Heat trade. The Heat would receive Trae Young. The Hawks would receive Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, a 2024 first and a 2029 first-round pick. And again, this is from Heat Nation on Twitter. Then just putting in a better visual context from what Bill Simmons actually said, I believe, on his podcast. And the idea is the same. Trae Young and the Miami Heat cannot get away from one another in one way or another, whether it's in the regular season, in the playoffs, or in the offseason through trade conversations. I think that the Miami Heat fan base should be a bit annoyed with this idea. Because of how frequent it has come up year after year after year and still not happened, I don't believe we are any closer to seeing Trae Young being traded to this Miami Heat organization because of the assets they'd have to give up, as well as the defensive inabilities Trae Young would then bring to this Miami Heat organization, which we already know, guard-wise, outside of De'Vion Mitchell, that it would not be the greatest move to then decrease the abilities on defense for this Miami Heat team. And again, highlighting Trae Young and Tyler Hero in that mix. Let me know down below what you guys think about this idea of Trae Young possibly being a Miami Heat player and the overall draft compensation as well as player compensation we would have to then send back to Atlanta in order to get this trade done based off the mock trade presented by Bleacher Report. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one.